Hey everybody, welcome to an all-new episode of The Why, presented by All American Roof Pros, episode number 8. I got a good buddy of mine, Mr. Brad of Redbeard Seasonings. He is probably one of my favorite human beings on our area, and we got a super interesting story into how we met, but he's a local business owner, proud father, husband, and U.S. Army veteran. I'll let him get into his story here, but we're super excited to have him here on an episode of The Why. So Brad, go ahead and tell the folks a little bit about you, who you are, all that good stuff.
My name's Brad Polachek. I was born and raised in Willard, Ohio. I still live in Willard with my wife and 4 children. I'm still kind of working a full-time gig, but doing my side hustle turned full-time business. I enjoy long walks on the beach, and kids keep us busy with sports. I really enjoy watching them get involved into stuff and growing, and they all like baseball and softball, and that was my favorite thing in high school. So
it's awesome, man. Yeah, and we as business owners, and I know what position you're in. Like, I was in a transition period early in my career. Like, when do I take the leap full time? And obviously, the business prospered thereafter. But you're in a weird spot, man.
It's tough to make it's nerve wracking, and at the same time, it's like, when do I do it?
Yeah.
You don't know when. You just come to a point and you just do it one day and hope that everything works out, I guess. But
yeah, man. And I think big thing for me is, like, I don't want to get to the end of my life and have any regrets.
Right.
But I know you're a hardworking dude. The story of how we met is always super interesting because it was in the middle of COVID, really, in 2021.
Yeah.
And I got tagged in a Battle Buddy response team video on TikTok because I was famous, and they asked us to come out and do a roof for a veteran.
Yep.
Right? Make sure I'm telling the story right here.
Yep.
And Brad immediately was like, hey, I want to go. And, like, didn't even really legitimately, like, we planned this whole trip out. We're going to be on for, like, it was 3 days.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey man, I'll just show up in your driveway. And, like, literally, dude showed up in my driveway the morning we left, and that's how we met. Like, there was no like formal introduction. I guess that's my trusting nature, your trusting nature, that neither one of us was going to be a serial killer. I mean, I had some social proof, but I didn't know who the hell Brad was.
Right.
And
just TikTok videos.
Yeah, he had some funny TikToks at the time, and Redbeard was really getting off the ground at that point. I know we had some really deep talks because, I mean, that was like a 10 or 12 hour drive to get out there.
Yeah.
And we lost a tire along the way.
Lost a tire on the trailer on the turnpike. That was fun.
Yeah. And man, what an interesting way that we connected, and that's what's so mind-blowing about the world we live in today.
Yep.
Like, we can just get connected with people through social media. Like, our grandparents had to write letters and go to social,
or run into somebody somewhere. And
I mean, so that's super nuts, man. But so, like, why do you feel so driven to build Redbeard? Like, what call? I mean, I know, like, you probably started Redbeard because I know, grilling and barbecuing and smoking is a passion of yours, right?
Right.
But, like, why do you feel inclined to grow it? Because if it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, tell me if I am, you could probably keep it a little bit on the smaller scale side, and just kind of have it as that side hustle,
right? And
go from there. So you want to kind of fill me in on what your why is for that?
Yeah, I guess to back up a little bit, Redbeard was started in my kitchen with like $50 worth of random spices and herbs from Planktown Market, and it was during the beginning of the pandemic, and everybody was kind of cooking at home, so that kind of further dumped me into wanting to learn how to cook different things at home, to do different things in the barbecue community. Everything in the barbecue world and, like, the home cooking thing in general just popped off with all the restaurants being closed down, with the lockdown and everything. So people were cooking at home. So we were in our kitchen and just throwing stuff together. There was stuff that I had mixed up at home that we'd use, to make as a seasoning on steak or on pork butts or whatever. Never had a recipe for it. It was just a little bit of this, kind of like Grandma did, pinch of this, a little bit of that. Yep, that's good. That looks all right. And so it was just through random conversation. It was like, well, wonder if, people are like, well, wonder if you could sell that. And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. I'm a challenge accepted kind of guy, Tell me that I can't. People weren't telling me I couldn't, but it was like hey, I bet you.
Yeah.
So when I'm just a challenge-oriented guy. You tell me that to do something or that I can't do it, I'm going to do it. I'll make it happen. I don't care what I got to do to make it happen. And so it legitimately started as just a side business thing just to make a little bit of extra money. I was blending everything in small little 5-pound batches, bottling it myself, printing my labels off my laser printer at home. They looked okay, but they looked like crap. Looking back at it, it's funny now.
Those early years, man, this looks so good. I remember when I first magnet on a truck, I designed it myself. I'm like, this looks awesome. And looking back at it now, we got full truck wraps and really badass stuff. But it's the moment, dude, you're like, I'm invested in this. And now I see, I don't mean to cut your story off, but I see those guys that got mailbox letters on the back of their truck to put and you know what? I applaud the hustle. But it's just kind of funny. How was that guy?
It makes you humble to look back where you were to where you are now.
Yeah.
It's kind of the side hustle thing quickly turned into, we went into Village Roots in Plymouth. It was a local boutique shop down there. It was the first place to sell it. And we put our stuff in there. November of 2020 was the first place that sold it ever. And she did sold $1,000 worth of stuff between November and December, because it was Christmas time. I'm like, this is going to be $1 million business. Let's go, And so that was kind of the motivation that sparked me. I'm like, well, maybe other stores can sell this.
Yeah.
So about 6 months later, it was time to where I could not keep up. I was going to Planktown and having them order me 50-pound bags of salt, 50-pound bags of this, 10-pound tubs of this, and mixing everything. Well, a 5-pound batch doesn't go very far into many bottles. And then when we got into a couple more stores, long story short, it got to the point where at 6 months, it's like, I need a co-packer to do this for me. So that was kind of the turning point to where it was either, like you said, do you keep it just as a small little local thing, or do you take it to the next level? And so we found a co-packer in the Detroit area that does all of our stuff now. They blend everything, bottle it, label it, and I just go pick up the finished product and then distribute to the stores, do shipping
you're still doing
online.
Distribution now.
Right. We have a couple meetings coming up that have the potential to get us into some distribution channels, which is just another level of pain in the ass. That's a whole new world.
It is.
The distribution world is a whole nother animal to tackle, and it'll be a learning experience for us. But it's, I guess, to answer your question of where do we go with it, it's to the point. Plus, we have the catering. We started doing the catering side of the business last year too, and that's just skyrocketed. So, for us to, at this point, it's either shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, you got to take that leap of faith and get away from safety net. Right. And go. I understand that. So, why do you feel so driven towards this? Because you could work a 9 to 5. Right. I know you had some experience at the sheriff's office. You could have stayed there. What is your purpose? Why are you getting? Why do you feel so driven for this, man? I
think it's a combined, kind of a two-part thing between being my own boss and having the ability to be there for my kids and to not miss out on all their events. My parents were always there for me for those things, and I want to be there for my kids for those things. So it's the scheduling, the freedom of the scheduling, the freedom to be able to be there when I need to be there, and then make up for the time later on. And then also just a passion for food and for cooking. The whole barbecue world in and of itself is its own family of people, of great people, and having been to events and such and met some of those people, people who are at the same stage as I'm at, and then people who are up here that are winning world championships. Everybody's still, I have yet to meet someone who wasn't on the same level. So just that, being a part of that barbecue community and that group of people, that's my people.
Yeah.
So
you found a niche. You found that pocket of the world that really you belong in.
Right.
That's super cool, man. That's kind of like me for roofing. I could give two shits about roofing. I really could. Not if my customers are watching. Right. We care about putting on a quality product. We really do, and we do care about the people more than
Right.
anything. I was just talking about this on a podcast the other day. You ever seen The Prophet with Michael Simona? So he's talking about people, process, and product.
Yep.
But there's a fourth one in there that I think everybody lacks, man, and that's purpose.
Yes.
If you can get your people to find their purpose within your business,
Yep.
like that's where you get. So like that's what I'm purpose driven now. Like I want to know what's your purpose. Like mine, I want to change the lives directly of 10,000 local kids through my money, through my business efforts, through my mentorship, through my speaking, whatever it is, right?
Right.
So when we have that, and I'm waking up every day, I'm thinking about the kids. So like I encourage people to get so much deeper into that. Like once you find that circle,
Yep.
great. But like, how can I solidify my legacy? And I think you've got a great brand.
Yeah.
Not to like,
I'm gonna hire you next.
but that so that's super cool, man. I think you've done some really cool stuff with that. It's crazy for me to think that like when we met, it was so infant because I do remember you talk about how big it was getting at
Right.
that point because we met in January, and to think that you were really only 2-3 months into that thing, but
Right.
you were really, on top of it, man. And just watching your growth has been explosive. I love being your cheerleader from the sidelines. That stuff's more fun to me, man. I could give rats asses about what I get in awards. Like I don't want to say I've accomplished everything that I can accomplish, but
Right.
I'm a firm believer now that I can only accomplish what the people around me accomplish, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like I'd rather see your wins than mine because
Right.
mine will come vicariously.
Absolutely.
So that's super important, man. What would you give, like if you had to give a piece of advice to Brad, 3 years ago when this thing was first kicking off, looking back at that guy who was probably really a different human,
Right.
honestly, because I'm sure you've gone through a lot of change. I know that's what we do.
Yeah,
in
it's a lot of change from a lot of different angles, just as a person, as what you're doing every day, how you're interacting with people. Once you have a customer base, and that's been one of the coolest things I think is just we have people that are repeat customers over and over and over and over again, and we're getting more of that group of people's building. It's like our own little cult of Redbeard people.
That's awesome, man.
And then they're going out and spreading the word. Hey, try this. Hey, use this. People are buying stuff and giving it to people for free. Like that to me is really cool to see that aspect of it unfold. So
yeah, so like that all that change, thinking about that and really reflecting
Right.
on that. What would you give one piece of advice to that guy 3 years ago? And more so, like I guess you or I can't go back in time and give pieces of advice to ourselves, but maybe
Right.
there's a guy watching this or a gal watching this that is getting ready to dip their toes in the business waters. What would your piece of advice be to that Brad?
I think definitely, no matter what arena of business or what niche of a business you're looking at starting, if you're going to start one, make sure you do your homework to know what you need to do legally, financially, have all those ducks in a row. Doing homework when we started this with all the food related stuff, food safety stuff, if I hadn't done that, it could have shut things down pretty quickly. The other piece of advice would be, if I were to say this to myself 3 years ago, is just jump in and just do it. There's no way to predict the future. If you're passionate about something, if you're starting something and it's taking off and it's got some heat behind it, run with it.
Yeah.
Because once you start something and once it starts taking off, you're in control at that point. You can do as little or as much as you want with it. And it makes me wonder if, even 2 years ago, a year and a half into it, if I would have just jumped in head first and went full speed ahead, where we would be at now. But like I said, there's no way to predict that. But if you're passionate about something, go and do it. Be your own boss. Make it what you want it to be, because it's absolutely possible.
Well, I think man, and that's super important. Like jumping into the deep end is hard, right? Like it's scary.
It's scary as hell.
unknown.
It's scary as hell.
There's even things that we do today that I'm like, I don't know if this is right.
Right.
And I've got a pretty successful business by a lot of measures, really. But I like you said, man, nobody can predict the future, but I also am a firm believer that you can't go wrong betting on yourself.
Yep.
If you are betting on you, like you're in the driver's seat, man. Like,
you're more invested than somebody else is in what you're doing. So
yeah, you'll figure it out, you know?
Yep.
So, you know, what would you say you feel most passionate about in making a change in the world? Take out Redbeard, take out all the business, take out all the money. What would you say would be the biggest thing that you're trying to make change? Like, what do you want your impact to be?
I think the biggest focus would be the local community, as cliche as that sounds. But my dad was a business owner for 37 years, and his biggest contribution to anything was the local community. He always supported the schools. He always supported local charity events, charity auctions, anything that he could do or donate or give to support other people. He always did, and I feel like it's my job to carry that legacy on, to keep doing that, to give to the schools, to support the sports teams, to support, you know, the Little League, the soccer teams, the local, you know, the Rotary Club, all the organizations in the community, because if we don't continue to do that, they're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
If people don't continue to contribute to their causes and what they're doing, it's not gonna.
No,
it's
and
not gonna continue.
I've said that a few times, man. Like, you have to, I think it's great to want to go overseas, and like I said, I'm going on a mission trip. When, I don't know. I will go on a mission trip. I'll go serve overseas. But at the same time, man, like, there's so much need here at home for parent, you know, for mentorship to young men, for just general guidance, you know, supporting of the sports teams, things like that. So I think you don't need to get so crazy like, oh, I'm going to Uganda. That sounds great. And it is great. Like, they need help too, but like, so does Mansfield, so does Willard, so does Huron, so does, you know.
And our local community has been our biggest supporters from the start. So giving back to those who are the reason that we're here. Exactly. You know, it's kind of like you said, all the other stuff is excellent. There's people. It's impossible to help everyone as much as we would both like to do that. Yeah. But I feel like if you start local, support those who supported you, and branch out and do what you can as you can.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jen's saying we got about 2 minutes left. The last minute here, Brad, you look at the camera, anything that's on your heart right now, share it, and then I'll wrap this thing up.
Whew, put me on the spot. I think the one thing that I've learned is throughout our time with developing this business is just to be yourself, do what you feel is right, support what you feel is right. Don't let anybody stop you. Bring in good people to take the ride with you, people that support you, people that are going to contribute to your cause, to what you're doing. It's easy to get wrapped up in trying to do too much. I'm guilty of that myself, doing too much and giving too much away. But at the end of the day, you want to surround yourself with people who are going to support you and be there for the ride. We've had some unfortunate things occur with different opportunities that have fallen through because people weren't exactly genuine in their cause. That's the hardest thing to gauge is, you know, you just have to take a chance. But I think that the biggest advice from a business standpoint is just, if it feels right, run with it. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Jump in head first and do what you need to do to make it happen.
Cool, man. I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate you for coming on, sharing with us. You know, like I said, I'm proud to call you one of my closer friends. And I know it sounds crazy to say that because we don't see each other, but like I said, I'm rooting you on from afar. And I love watching everything happen with Redbeard. As we wrap this thing up, y'all, like I tell everybody, if you want to come on the podcast, we'd love to have you on. This is not here. We're not here to be boastful. We're not here to elevate your brand, my brand. We're here really to get your purpose out in the world and discuss it. So if y'all would love to be on an episode, please reach out to myself or my team. We'd love to have you on. We're super hospitable. We're super accommodating, and we'd love to have you on. So if you need anything else, reach out to us. But in the meantime, remember, what's your purpose?